Hello friends, Pete the Drummer here, and what you just watched was my feeble attempt at recreating a scene from the movie A Quiet Place, starring John Krasinski and his real-life wife, Emily Blunt. And the reason I tried to recreate that scene is because today I am on the very rail trail at the very trestle bridge where they filmed that scene. How cool is that? What this actually is the Wallkill River Rail Trail. And this trestle bridge was reconditioned. Once the rail line was decommissioned, they turned this into a rail trail, and the Wallkill Valley Rail Trail runs for 22 miles from New Paltz all the way up to Kingston, New York. And I know that part of the plan is to connect the trail in New Paltz over to the walkway over the Hudson into Poughkeepsie, and that line goes even further southeast into New York State. So once it's all completed, this rail trail is going to be extremely long. But back in the day, around the turn of the century, this rail line was actually used for mining purposes, because just 6 miles further north of here are mines and lime kilns where they would mine cement. And a lot of that cement was used to build the Brooklyn Bridge, among other things. Now, if you're an avid hiker, you could very easily hike the 6 miles further on this trail and get to all those cool sights. Today, we're going to drive over there because I played a show last night and I am tired as f***. So let's have a look at the trestle bridge, and then we'll take a ride up to the lime kilns. So friends, now I am at the Binwater, or Binawater, or I don't really know how you pronounce it. I'm going to say Binwater Lime Kiln parking lot. And the reason it's called the Binwater Lime Kiln parking lot is because in front of me is a huge lime kiln. Look at the size of this thing. This is massive. Now, this is not unlike any of the other lime kilns that you may have seen in some of my videos, lime kilns that I've featured in the past. The only difference is, instead of just being one kiln, this is a network of many kilns. Because the mining operation that was a little bit further up the rail trail from here was so big that they needed this many furnaces to burn off all of the impurities and collect the lime that was essential in the manufacture of cement. The cement that was used to build the Brooklyn Bridge, among other things. So let's take a closer look. So friends, I don't know exactly how these things used to work, but from what I understand, they would put the stuff that they would dig out of the ground up into the top of the furnace there, and it would burn off, and they would collect what they burned off in these little alcoves here. That's essentially the gist of it. This one over here is all broken open, and you can actually walk right in and look up. How cool is that? The brickwork in this thing is pretty impressive. Look at that. Those are all bricks. Amazing. So, just across the street from the Binwater Kiln parking lot is access to the Wallkill Valley rail trail. Only now I'm in Rosendale, New York, which is a good 6 or 7 miles north of New Paltz, where I was before filming the Quiet Place bridge. So the material that was processed and burned off at the Binwater kilns was all mined from mines that are along this rail trail. So let me hike to a couple of those mines and I'll show you what those look like. I don't think you were quite able to make that out in that last scene, but when you get up further along this trail on a hot, humid day like today, the cold air rushing out from the mines creates a mist and a fog over the trail that's pretty creepy to walk through. I don't know if you could quite make it out on that last scene, but it's pretty cool to see if you're actually here. So this is just one of the mines that you'll see as you travel on this rail trail. And like I was saying before with the fog, you can see all the foggy air coming out of the mine. That's cold air coming out of the ground, mixing with the hot, humid air here on the surface. And if you can see down in there, this type of mining construction was known as room and pillar, where they would dig out a room where they would do the mining and leave these pillars to support the rock overhead. Pretty cool. Further up the trail here is the ruins of the F.O. Norton Cement Company, which was one of a few different cement companies that was in operation in the late 1800s. All mining the materials used for making cement. It was apparently quite a huge operation in these parts. According to a historical marker posted at the site of those ruins, the F.O. Norton Cement Company, at its peak, was capable of producing 1,000 barrels of cement every day. Pretty neat. So here's another example of the mines that you can see along the trail. Now, unfortunately, these mines are flooded, but you can still clearly make out that same room and pillar design that I pointed out earlier in sections like this, where you can see the carved areas where they would mine, leaving a pillar in the middle to support all of the rock overhead. Pretty wild. Like I said, unfortunately, it's all flooded. And this is just one of many examples of mines that you'll find up and down the Wallkill Valley Rail Trail. So as I mentioned before, I'm in Rosendale, New York now. We drove from that bridge where the Quiet Place Bridge, that was down in New Paltz, New York, and then we drove up to the Binwater Kiln parking lot in Rosendale, New York. Rosendale's other claim to fame is this. Rosendale Trestle Bridge. Check this out. Or actually, this is a better look. This trestle bridge is 950 feet long from end to end, a couple of 100 feet tall off the ground. Now, back in the 90s, the Conrail Rail Line Company sold this bridge to someone for just $1. And that guy was going to use the bridge and turn it into a bungee jumping operation. That ultimately didn't pan out, and eventually in around 2009, the Rail Trail Commission took possession of the rail trail and completed what is now the Wallkill Valley Rail Trail. But how cool is this? You really can't get a good idea of how impressive this bridge is unless you're here. Let me flip the camera around and try and give you a better idea. Well, folks, that's going to do it for this one. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and go take a hike.